Hey, what's up guys? This is Luke with the Live Great Lifestyle. So today we're going to talk about back pain and exercise and how exercise can actually help you if you have back pain. So many people don't know this about me, but probably 4 years ago I compressed a disc to where I was actually squatting, but I hadn't even squatted. I was just standing with the bar, took a little bit of a breath, and my spine just sat down on itself, compressed the disc. By the time I got home, I literally was laying on the sidewalk, couldn't move, had to kind of crawl into my house, and I was basically stuck on my back for about 6 days, couldn't do anything. For me, obviously, a really traumatic experience is what I do for work. I'm moving weight with clients, and all of my fun stuff was being taken from me, jiu-jitsu, hiking, all of surfing, whatever. It was all gone. But through this, I went to a chiropractor. I was able to get adjusted, and then obviously months of rehab, which ended up actually leading to mentorship. And I actually ended up getting hired on at this chiropractic office and became their strength and rehab specialist. So within that scope, I ended up working with lots of people, obviously, that had back pain, because, you know, what are half of the people who come to a chiropractor? What do they have? Back pain. So I'm just going to show you the one exercise that I make every person who has a bad back master. So even to this day, I don't work with that chiropractor anymore, but I still have lots of people who have low back pain, and this is something that they have to master. And it's the exercise everybody thinks is gonna hurt them. It's the one that's gonna save you, and it's the deadlift, okay? So most people are afraid of doing a deadlift because they think they're gonna hurt their back. Yes, you absolutely can hurt your back if you do this wrong, but the reality is you're gonna go through this motion probably, 50 to 100 times a day when you bend over to pick something up. So if you have small kids, you're gonna do some version of a deadlift. If you're picking up groceries, your suitcase, whatever. Now obviously if you have like a specific low back injury like I do, where there's a compression, you know, how heavy of a deadlift do you really need to be able to do? I don't know. Even me, a year and a half later, I was still able to work up to a 405-pound deadlift, which is, for a tall, skinny guy, not a bad lift. But how strong is strong for you? Again, when I think of this, I think of it for more real world patterning. Again, bending over to pick up the dog food. So think of this as more of a movement and not just an exercise. But you need to learn it as an exercise, build some strength through it as an exercise, and then you need to translate it to movement, okay? Long story short, now we're gonna show you how to do that. So first, let's get really clear on what the deadlift is. So the way I coach a deadlift, I want you to think of the deadlift as a glute or a butt-driven exercise that your back assists with. Generally, when I see people hurt their back doing a deadlift, they don't have glute engagement and they're over-relying, or they're usually overextending the lumbar spine, which then kind of creates some compression in the disc. So I'm gonna walk you through some checkpoints here. The first thing you gotta understand is what is a fused or braced spine. So if you think of your spine, how it allows you to move in all of these different directions, get rid of all of that and imagine your vertebra and your whole spine becomes one bone from your hip to your neck. You're gonna attempt to maintain that structure, or that alignment that you have with good posture through the entire movement. So here, I'm gonna straddle the kettlebell. I'm gonna draw my belly button in tight. I'm gonna pull my shoulders back. I'm gripping that floor with full foot contact, like my hand is a foot. I'm even gonna screw my knees out just a little bit from the hip. From here, I'm hinging only at the hip, and this is the key part. All of the motion has to come from your hips and not your back. So it would look like this. My hips go back. As a result, my chest tips over as my hips go back. At some point, I can no longer push my hips back any further because my hamstrings are tight. And I'm kind of stuck. So I'm gonna call that the hip hinge. And we should actually pattern that a few times. Again, abs on tight, push your butt back, squeeze up through the glutes. Now you'll notice my spine, it stayed in the same position the entire time. So again, at the bottom of my hip hinge, but here's the problem, I haven't reached that weight. All I'm gonna do, again, maintaining the integrity of that position, that same fixed position, I'm gonna bend my knees as I drop down. My spine stayed in that same neutral position. From here, I'm pushing the floor away. I'm gonna squeeze my glutes and drive up. And again, if you notice, all of the movement all of the movement in my back comes as a result of my hips either moving backwards or moving forward. So the hip and the glutes are going to facilitate the movement, and your spine is going to move around it as a result. So here's where people go wrong. At the top, they may kick their butt out. Again, they lost the integrity of that spine, and again, they may have created some compression. So oftentimes they'll do this at the very top, right away when we go to start. Or maybe they do a good job and they maintain it on the way down. They stayed in that good alignment, and then when they go to stand up, they do the Legally Blonde or move, the bend and snap, and they lift through their back. And you can see I put that arch in my back. Now, somebody who has a local disc issue, that's going to jump at them right away. So once you've mastered this as an exercise where you can control this, squeezing up through the glutes, and you've built some strength, and again, strength is going to be relevant, but if you're a small woman or small man, 95, 105 pound deadlift, obviously you can get to where you can lift a tremendous load through this position. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to, but you need to have some strength, and then more importantly, you got to translate this stuff to movement. So here's how this translates to movement. I'm going to use this ball because it's visually easier to see. So this ball is 8 pounds. It weighs absolutely nothing. It's a gallon of milk. But again, when I was, after I had a back injury, I had to be very, very aware for about 6 months how I bend over to pick anything up, or I could end up, again, on the floor, unable to move, back in the office dealing with this compression. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that this 8 pound weight, that I got to get up to it, go through all of these checkpoints, and move in this really rigid, fixed position. That's a lot of work just to pick up 8 pounds. But if you think of the context of the deadlift as maintaining this fused spine where you have this one bone approach, and that you're always moving at the hips, you can get off of balance and you can kind of be out of position, but you're still gonna drive through the hip and butt. So again, here would be a way for me to set this down. Butt goes back, chest tips over, but my spine, even though I'm rotated here, my spine still remains fused. That position there doesn't feel awkward. It's very lackadaisical. Glutes drive me up by squeezing my butt, and my hips go forward. So I'm still in that hinge. So you can literally walk around your house, even here as I bend over to put something down. I'm so ingrained to move in that pattern that even when I pick up my cell phone, I'm gonna feel my glutes engage. So you're gonna find your own patterns that you like. If it's something light, I might be here, butt back, chest over. Again, I feel my right glute really engaging because my posture's here. I squeeze up to the right glute and I'm up. If it's something a little heavier, maybe I need to block. I'll kind of block here, but again, the pattern's the same. Hips back, chest over, spine remains fused the entire way. And you're gonna come up with your own strategies on how you bend over and pick these things up, but the context or the concept is the same. Fuse the spine, all movement, whether you're here, 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 all movement in your spine comes as a result of your hips going back, chest tips over. I hit hamstring tension, so now I'm stuck. So I bend the knees so I can maintain this position and drop down. Squeezing my glutes, my hips come up, my spine follows. So that's how you can take the deadlift, translate it to movement. Super relevant for anybody who, again, if you've had any local low back pain, again, like myself, who's compressed the disc, even if you haven't, it's still a pattern you should get really familiar with and start to aspire to move in. So that's how to take the deadlift and translate it to movement. Hope you guys have a great day. I'm Luke with the Live Great Lifestyle, and I will catch you next time.